FA Cup final, 3rd of June, the first ever Manchester derby in an FA Cup final, which narratively has so much to go into. I think the main thing is the potential that this game could be one of the only opportunities for Manchester United to prevent Man City from winning the treble and matching what they did, which I just want to happen. I want this FA Cup final because, transparency, we are recording this a little bit before this game, but I think that it would just be so incredible to go into that game with the knowledge that Man United can be the team to prevent potentially that treble from happening.
And I find it more exciting that we're going into that game potentially thinking that Man City could actually do the treble. Like, I look at this Man City team and they get a lot of stick because obviously they spent billions of pounds to get this team assembled and stuff. But when you look at the crux of this team, they are such a phenomenal team. What they've been doing for the last decade or so with that team has been incredible. The work Pep Guardiola has done has been incredible. And I feel like they get overlooked a lot because they spent a lot of money. But to maintain that sort of success and then potentially win a treble that only Manchester United have ever done in the Premier League history, I think that's going to blow a lot of people's minds. That's probably going to put Pep Guardiola in full contention with Sir Alex Ferguson. Like, bring on the debates on international break. Who's the better coach, Pep Guardiola or Sir Alex Ferguson? And I can't wait for Pep Guardiola to be in that conversation and you can finally say, he's done a treble with Manchester City. That's going to be something that people will talk about for ages. And this match is basically going to be set up for history, basically.
And also, I know obviously a massive part of this is, of course, their financial muscle, apart from other teams. But I think to do it in this era is maybe a little bit more impressive because the Premier League is a lot more competitive, the Champions League too, and with the intensity of the game in a World Cup year as well. It's a lot, and I think the fact that City haven't done it up till now and they've been struggling to accomplish this shows how tricky it is to maintain that intensity, even if you have a squad as brilliant and as balanced as Man City have been able to build. It shows how difficult it is, particularly in the chaos of cup competitions, which is what the Champions League has been for Man City. When feasibly, maybe we'll have this debate at some point of who is the best team in Europe, and it is always the team that wins the Champions League, but to do it in this year is incredible. I do think, though, we can speak as much about Man City, but Man United, Man City will be favourites, I'm sure, whether it's about the treble or not. But there's something about Man United, they've fallen off in recent weeks, but there's something about them, particularly against Man City, where on occasion, like we saw at Old Trafford a couple months ago, even if Man City are dominating the game, even if they go 1-0 up, they do have this ability to rise to the occasion and cause a shock.
And that's the problem with this match. And I'm not saying that I'm rooting for Manchester City to kind of put that shock to bed, but I'm really hoping that shock factor doesn't come because let me be quite transparent with you here. I'm not a fan of Man United, not even a little bit, not even a tiny bit. I don't want them to win the FA Cup. I think this season they have gone beyond expectations. Of course, they won the Carabao Cup as well, and they've got into another FA Cup final, which, by the way, I think Brighton did a very, very good job and probably deserved it more than Manchester United did. But I would hate for them to get to the final and just rob City of everything that they are deserving of. I'm not saying that Man United don't deserve more trophies. They do. Their time will come. But at the same time, I do think that if Man United do go into this game with a jammy goal and then defend for the rest of it, or just hit them with the counter the entire time, as you know, we are used to them, as we have been used to seeing this entire season, I will be really upset. So I really do hope that, the curse of Man City versus Man United does not come to fruition.
I do just think, though, I think the key element that's going to prevent Man United from doing it is no Lisandro Martinez.
Exactly.
And having to work. I mean, sure, and if they don't put Maguire in because Maguire is just, he isn't the player for them anymore. And, but I do think it sounds like a really lazy piece of analysis, but I do think it will come down to two strikers. It will come down to Erling Haaland and Marcus Rashford. It will come down to those two players and whether Rashford can be as impactful as he has been in what has been an incredible season, even at sometimes trying to sort of compete with Haaland's incredible productivity. But City have just got so much firepower, and I think as well they've been in this situation a number of times. They know how to get it done in the final weeks of a season. I do wonder though, does it help Man United actually if Man City are in the Champions League final soon after an FA Cup or around that time? Does that actually maybe divert attention away?
When I say the real champions survive things like this, they love things like this, right? And obviously you've got the Premier League in contention as well. We don't know how far they're going to be in the Premier League. Like you said, we're filming way ahead of this FA Cup final. So we don't know how far they're going to be in the Premier League as well. And the real champions will be able to kind of understand that pressure and kind of feed off of that pressure, you know? Like I look back to when Chelsea were in the Champions League final and the FA Cup final. They were playing a very decent Liverpool team, and then they were going to play Bayern Munich in their own home, and they kind of dismissed Liverpool a little bit. Like, for me personally, as a Chelsea fan, I went into that match thinking I'd rather us lose this FA Cup final and get to that Champions League final and win that Champions League final. But we managed to do both because the players, they were feeding off of that energy, right? And I feel like if anyone can do that, Manchester City can do that. I wouldn't even look at the fact if they're in the Champions League final, I wouldn't even look at that as a factor. If they're in the race for the Premier League, I wouldn't even look at it as a factor. I'll just look at it in isolation and say, can Manchester City beat Man United in an FA Cup final? All of the other factors, it doesn't matter because this team is formidable. It sounds like I love them. Like it sounds like I'm in love with them.
Yeah, I think that the key thing is in terms of balance. Like I think if Man United are hoping that City have an off day and thrive off chaos, and I think the margins for error are thinner with Man United. So 100%. I think you have to lean more in the direction of Man City. But I really, really hope the treble will be on because it will make that final 10, 20 times better. And I think Man City, this could be the year finally they match that Man United achievement.